Yeah.
I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one.
Yeah.
I hope my team they won one.
Yeah. Man.
I hope my team they won one.
Yeah.
I hope my team they won one.
Yeah.
I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Mike Washington should be jumping in here shortly. We got a great show to do. We have an interview. Charles had some discussion with me and made a recommendation, so I tried to pull one out of the coat. We're going to see if we can get it going. So look forward to the second segment. We're going to talk about the announcers of the marching sport. So we'll get into that a little bit. But as we get going, we'll just start off as we do with the HBCU news of the day. And I'm going to go straight to you, Charles. But before I do that, as we should, how you doing today?
Doing well. We got some much needed rain here in Houston, Texas today. So my front yard and backyard are extremely happy.
Sound like you are thrilled. I know the wife is. She didn't have to worry about me watering the grass. It's got done today. So, just
exactly.
Paid me a favor as well. With
yes,
that being said, let me do it appropriately. Welcome to episode 409, Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast. The show that's covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports, from institutions large and small, from NAIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, coming from our home studios and sending a signal live to our KSWA 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Fame, Ralph Cooper, in a beautiful home at Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. With that said, I know we got a little bit of background noise flowing back between, but we'll get that straightened up. That with that being said, Charles, again, how you doing today?
Doing well. Got a little bit of breaking HBCU news today, so we'll get into that now.
Go ahead.
This comes courtesy of Florida A&M Athletics. As Florida A&M women's basketball head coach Shalon Pillow resigned after 3 years and 2 seasons leading the Rattlers. This is a statement from her today. I am very thankful for the opportunity to lead the women's basketball program over the last 3 years. I am more than grateful to have had the opportunity of working with the young women on the team and be part of their development on and off the court. So Shalon Pillow will be moving on from Florida A&M women's basketball.
Man, that's interesting because of the timing. Obviously, we know coaches get dismissed, coaches leave for other opportunities, or sometimes life changes, forces that. But it'd be intriguing to kind of poke your head behind the scene and figure out what happened in that. But at this point, we don't know, so we won't speculate, but it'd be fascinating. At some point, you probably will hear that news. I know another one that was out there from HBCU Game Day that was interesting in terms of Buffalo Bills promote former Grambling State tight end. What did he get promoted to? A player on the current coaching staff. Eric Washington has been promoted to assistant head coach, defensive line coach. The team announced last week Washington will remain as a defensive line coach in addition to his new duties as the assistant head coach. Washington joined the staff of the Buffalo Bills in 2020, along with another former HBCU star Alcorn State alumnus, Leslie Frazier. Frazier held the position of assistant head coach and defensive coordinator prior to taking a leave of absence after the 2022 season. Head coach Sean McDermott has assumed defensive coordinator duties since Frazier's departure. Now, before coming to Buffalo, Washington spent 7 seasons as a defensive line coach with the Carolina Panthers under Ron Rivera. He worked with McDermott there before. He was the head coach 2017, Washington spent 2 seasons as the Panthers defensive coordinator before being ushered out as part of the regime change in the franchise. Washington broke into NFL in 2008, joined the Chicago Bears staff as an assistant head coach back. Washington spent 2 seasons as the tight end from 1989 to 1990 under legendary head coach Eddie Robinson Sr. He started his coaching career at Texas A&M and spent 3 seasons at Ohio, 4 seasons at Northwestern before joining the Bears. Speaking of Washington, guess who we have, Charles? Mike Washington.
I see.
He's on a different schedule clock than we are. We're going to give him a minute to get set up. So I'm going to go back to you, Charles, and see what other news of the day you have. And then we'll come to Mike and see what he wants to talk about in terms of HBCU Sports Lab.
Sure. Let's take a trip up to Delaware State as Delaware State University Director of Athletics Alicia Shields-Gasson has announced the hiring of David Brooks as the new head coach of the defending MEAC champion Delaware State women's volleyball team. A 2-time CIAA Coach of the Year, Brooks joins the Hornets after a highly successful 2-year stint as the head volleyball coach at Elizabeth City State University, where he led the Vikings to their first CIAA championship and NCAA tournament appearance since 2008. This past season, ECSU was 26-9 overall and posted a 16-1 regular season record en route to the championship run. So it looks as though David Brooks will be taking over the reins at Delaware State as their volleyball coach.
Good stuff, good stuff. As the world continues to change with HBCU coaching, interesting when you talk about taking over a team that was last season's champion. It'd be intriguing to see how things move forward. Mike Washington, what do you have on your plate in terms of what's catching you in terms of the HBCU sports news of the day?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say good afternoon, and I apologize. Got caught by a little unexpected stuff this afternoon, but always happy as ever to be in the show.
Man, it's just a little bit of rain. What you trying to act like the rain? It's been so hot down here in Texas. He forgot what rain looked like.
I know I did.
Well, what's the saying? If you don't like the weather in here, stick around. So anyway.
That's it.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know. I came in on another. I think I heard the announcement with the Buffalo Bills promoting former Grambling State tight end from.
I did that
earlier announcement.
Charles jumped in there with the news that came straight off the wire in terms of FAMU dismissing. Oh, I'm sorry, not dismissing. Let me catch that because people are going to come back out and say that's what happened. Well, the head coach fellow announced that she was stepping down and moving on to some other things. So those are the 2 news that we kind of dropped out of here.
Yeah, so, the 2023 men's Cancun challenge field nearly set. Includes Morgan. So the charms of live basketball and all-inclusive warm weather resort setting are perfect solutions to dealing with the winter's chill, and the Triple Crown Sports is pleased to release details on its answer to the question with the 16th annual men's Cancun challenge set for November 21st through 22nd, 2023. At the Hard Rock Hotel Riviera Maya. The Men's Cancun Challenge welcomes 8 teams to this gated, trusted, and all-inclusive resort where teams play in a coveted, converted ballroom that is walking distance from the guest rooms. So you have to make Dr. Cavil money to, go to that kind of a state. So anyway, the event features 4 teams in the Riviera division. Let's see. Well, we have Fresno State, James Madison, New Mexico State, Southern Illinois, and 4 teams in the Mayan division: Morgan State, Northern Colorado, Radford, and one TBA or to be announced. So this marks the 2nd visit to the event for Fresno State and Northern Colorado. It's the debut appearance for the other programs. 4 U.S.-based teams kick off the Cancun challenge before the teams head to Mexico. I think we need to have our show right there. See if Doc can work something out where we can have our show right there in Cancun at the Riviera Challenge at the Hard Rock Riviera Maya. I got my room picked out, Doc.
The Riviera Maya has a nice golf course. That's a PGA Tour golf course. So yeah, let's hook that up. Let's make that happen.
Come on, Doc.
Charles, I was gonna call you on my side and just say, see how your big brother do. Now I see how your partner in crime, and then your big brother Charles, y'all team up. I see what this is like. I thought he was going to first say Cancun, 1, 2, 3, Cancun. Now he talking about setting up the show and everything.
When
he gonna tell everybody they lie that I got the big book.
Hey, I'm all business right there.
Man, I'm ready. In all seriousness, though, we might need to look into that once or twice. We might have to look at that. Roy, we might need you to pack the cameras up.
No, they got an anti-fam. They got an anti-FAMU rule there, so we can't let
that. No rattlers below the border.
That's right.
Wow.
No problem. Let me go back to you, Charles, before we all get in trouble. I no longer have the off button. Somebody else does. We'll be all off before we know it. Keep messing with Roy and the Rattlers. Charles, go ahead.
Well, I mean, obviously we'll look at we'll be at the SIAC Media Day on next week, July 12th. So football season is officially upon us once we start heading to some of these media days. So SIAC Media Day, July 12th, SWAC Media Day, I believe July 25th. So busy next couple of weeks, Dr. Phil.
You got your plane ready? You ready to get into all this?
All set, ready to
go. Mike, you ready? You plan to get into some of this?
Oh, absolutely.
I see you. You look focused and ready. With that said, let me go back to you, see what other news that you want to put out there, and hopefully you'll get out of my pocketbook this time. Get your hands out my pocket.
Now, come on now. Do I sound like I would have my hands in your pocket? Come on.
Twice.
No. Other than way back a long time ago, that one time, you required that we had, never mind. That will stay.
The statute of limitations might have passed.
The national convention is coming up. I don't want any problems as I walk into Dallas. I'm just saying. Go ahead, Mike.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about basketball news, more basketball news. Florida Memorial announced Thursday, that's today, y'all, that Rod Woods is the interim women's head basketball coach with over 21 years of experience coaching women's basketball at various levels, including junior college, NCAA Division I level. Wood brings a wealth of experience, of course, to the role. So they are very excited to have Coach Woods join the team and lead Florida Memorial's women's basketball program. His experience spans almost 20 years, and it makes him an invaluable addition, stated Mr. Jason Horn, who's director of athletics. Not only does he possess great experience as a coach, but also as an administrator, which is a valuable trait to have in a coaching position, interim or non-interim position. Woods most recently served as a coach at Barry University in Miami Shores, where he achieved a 14-15 overall record and led the Sunshine State Conference tournament. While at Barry, Woods played a pivotal role in developing post player Kanari Holiday, who received Freshman of the Year accolades. So before his tenure at Barry, Woods spent a season at, you'll like this, Charles, East Mississippi Community College, assisting head coach Sharon Thompson and guiding the Lions to a 12-13 record. So prior to his time at Mississippi, he was an assistant coach at Mississippi Valley State for 3 years under Coach Ashley Walker Johnson. So a huge pedigree for this young man as he steps into this role at Florida Memorial. under, of course, the interim tag, which I have to ask time and time again, Dr. Cavil, why do we put the interim tag on certain individuals and why do we keep it off others, and why is it on there? Because there doesn't seem consistency, but in this case, we have for Coach Woods. So congratulations, Coach Woods, interim women's basketball coach at Florida Memorial.
Good question. Good question with that interim acting tag, because you sure responsibility for the same work. With that being said, we're going to go to our first break. I teased out a little bit before we went there. We're going to come back with Karl. We know him as the King of Swing. He goes by many names. King MC, the King Motivator.
King Karl.
I asked him which one he's going to be called today. But in all seriousness, I told you, Charles, I know Mike will get in. What Charles told me, he said, hey, let's look at and see if we can catch up with somebody that can talk about HBCU marching bands. We've had band directors in, we had previous drum majors in, both men, women, in regards to that, and talked about marching sport. We started the band rankings a couple of years ago in terms of our own framework of what did that look like in terms of how we were going to measure teams. But he came from another perspective, which was intriguing to me when he talked about the fact that what really stands out oftentimes that separates, a great band from really the top level being consistently great, if you would, is having a great announcer. So I rolled down and thought about it, and I said, let me see if I can connect to somebody that played in that role, and maybe we can have a conversation about that. And that's where he came up. But let me share this, though. I came across this article, and he said, what makes a band even more spectacular? A great announcer. When we come back on the other side as we introduce the guest, I'm going to read a little bit of that first paragraph and then get his thoughts on it, and then we can get into some conversation. With that, stay tuned. We'll be right back after this first break.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties. Through its programs, Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentjax.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Stride K-12 powered schools are ready to put over 20 years of being a leader in online education to work for you. Dive into curriculum designed for the online classroom. Team up with state-certified teachers trained in virtual instruction. Take control of your child's education journey. Discover the power of personalized learning with a leader experienced in preparing kids for a future they can be excited about. Take charge. Stride K-12. Enroll now for the fall.
You're looking for the
Test the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna loud, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. We have one other than Karl King Mayes. I guess he's decided to change it again. King of Swing, King Motivator. King MC, which king you are? You're just king, huh?
It is the king, man, because God is king first. I'm made in his image, so I'm a king before I'm anything. You can put whatever you want behind it, but at the beginning of it, I'm great at what I do.
I like that. For all those that don't know, this is Karl Mayes, in all serious, Brother Mayes. He is the member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. As you see, he's actually in the barbershop getting trimmed up. That lets you know how big time he is. Everybody can't do that. So shout out. Tell us I don't know. Your barber may not even want to be named. We may not be able to afford that. But if you can, Tell us your barber's name. Where you at? What's the name of the barbershop?
His name is Don the Barber, man. He's at Clips Barbershop right in Texas. So y'all get a chance to check it out. Clips is CLIPPS, man. Check him out, man. He's good at what he does. If I ever get to a point where I can take somebody on the road, he will be that.
No, he said if I ever get to that point, you know he travel with you. You just show it out. I know what you do. You're probably on the road now. With that being said, for those that don't realize, in all seriousness, Karl's been big time in terms of cutting records. And this was when we were in school. The MCs from big time folks in terms of Beyonce, Bilal, Marsha, Ambrosia, Crystal, Michelle, Jay-Z, Outkast, MC Light is some of the folks that he's literally MC'd for in terms of introducing them in different shows. The most recently, he actually was an MC in regards to wedding MCs. He's made that famous and actually trains other folks of how to do MCing at a wedding. Unfortunately, he started this after I got married, so I didn't get to use him, even though some other folks that we know did that. But pretty brilliant, brother, in terms of that. But what I wanted to bring him in here to talk about the time that he was an announcer, if you would, in regards for the Marching Storm, which was from 91 to 98. Took a break as he was making all that money, as we just talked about, going around the world. And then somehow they convinced me to come back from 2006 to 2011. So I wanted to read this, get your kind of thoughts on it, and then I'm going to let the other gentleman, Charles, that really brought this up in terms of how important an announcer is for the band. It separates it. But there was a guy named Ernest Stackhouse that wrote an article about this that I didn't realize after Charles told me. I said, let me go do my homework and research it. He opens this up, and this is a 5-year-old article. Dr. Williams P. Foster once said, quote, every great band needs a great announcer, end quote. I believe this is still true. Just as in the old days, having a great announcer is still the glue to a great show. The great bands have announcers whose voices, saying, and patterns of delivering elevate the band's performance. With the correct application of the well-timed words and phrases, announcers evoke certain emotions and reactions which can exceed the effect of instruments alone. The greatest announcer have created their own styles and approach. Their voices have become identifiable as the look and sound of the bands whose shows they narrate. And I believe this is the larger point that Charles was speaking to when he said it's important that we do this context of really sharing love with HBCU marching bands, what we call the HBCU marching sports. As we do, we like to connect the sporting HBCU diaspora, and it's all together. When I read that, what were your first thoughts when you heard that? You're on mute, Karl.
Okay, you can hear me now. So yeah, man. No, I think it was spot on, man. I think that a lot of people don't really understand that it's its own instrument as well. So when you talk about a collective sound, for a band, it's identifiable. It's kind of like you all being the voices of the HBCU Sports Lab. I mean, you become a part of that particular brand, and I think that whenever you can be in a situation where you help add an accent to it. So we're like the earrings on, the female or the added, accessory that, helps to be able to make it a little bit more poignant, if that makes any sense. And I think that, when you can truly be an identifiable voice, when you can be an accent that accentuates, the sound and makes it a little bit more, appealing to people, kind of help to be able to add some color to that whole aspect. That's literally what it was. So that's definitely well written, with the way that he put it.
Let me follow up with that and just go back to the beginning. Tell people where you're from.
I'm originally from Fort Worth, Texas. From the Metroplex. Born and raised. You know what I'm saying? Class of '89, Fort Worth Dunbar High School, and then by way of PV and lived a little bit in New York, lived a little bit in LA, and went on and resided here in Houston because that's where I felt like I planted my flag a little bit better, by that time anyway. And yeah, man, I mean, having done so much for them and having opportunity, that's why I'm indebted to our beloved, Prairie View A&M University, because man, it allowed me to develop a skill set, man, that has taken me around the world, man. Truly has made a living from it. Who would have ever thought? You know what I'm saying? But being able to do something of that magnitude, I think, kind of helped out, help enhance what I already put as far as being a performing artist.
Good. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back on the other side. We'll get into the second part of the question, and we'll let Charles and Mike Washington jump in here. Stick with us. Be right back after this break.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Stride K-12 powered schools are ready to put over 20 years of being a leader in online education to work for you. Dive into curriculum design for the online classroom. Team up with state-certified teachers trained in virtual instruction. Take control of your child's education journey. Discover the power of personalized learning with a leader experienced in preparing kids for a future they can be excited about. Take charge. Stride K-12. Enroll now for the fall.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Cover's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KeaversVoice.com. Cover's Voice, Cover's Voice, CoversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Press the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want to loud, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention.
This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, and Karl Mayes, the King Motivator, as he likes to say, the King MC, King of Swing. King, he said, whatever you just call him King. We got
That's right.
We understand. I did want to ask one more question before I let these guys jump in and ask you, really, how did you get to become the announcer with the Marching Storm at Prairie View A&M University the first time?
Man, when I auditioned, the person that was doing it at the time was Rob G, which is Robert Gamble, who is professionally known here at the box as Rob G, and he was the standing announcer at that time. And believe it or not, we kind of battled it out, and it's kind of because I battled him as a freshman. He ended up winning it out, but we ended up becoming boys, and then that next year, I ended up beating him, and then he ended up transferring to Hampton. You know what I'm saying? So not because of that, but that's just kind of what that ended up being his, to kind of on to a better space for himself. But anyway, from that point, man, it just grew, and I tried out because I was good at just announcing, period. But I didn't know what to expect. I hadn't done anything to that magnitude before, and it was just an exciting, thing to be able to try out.
Got it. Charles, go ahead and follow up.
I wanted to ask this question, Karl, in terms of where there are any influences that help you kind of create your style.
Well, having been, one of the first MC, and I say one of the first MCs in Texas because I put out my first album in 1982. I was 12 years old at that time. And, again, I didn't know what I was doing at that time. I just knew I was pretty good at doing something. So my dad, these guys, at that time, like 12, they were older. They were like 26. And these guys, kind of recognized the talent and wanted me to record something. It wasn't nothing that did anything. It was like a 5-song EP. And, it did here and there. It probably went wood. But that was my first experience with music or something and just doing it. And I think that my dad always said, it's just kind of weird because he was like, man, if you're going to do all that hibbity-hobbity stuff, you're going to make sure you do well in school first. So I kind of had to do the balance of both. Because in order to be able to do it, he was like, it's kind of like my version of no pass, no play, right? So, I just kind of leaned into it. I was just a talented kid, man. I could always dance. I turned out a lot of talent shows, and I just kind of moved into it that way. But I used to always imitate. I don't know if y'all remember back in the day, in 1981, 82, it was weird, but there was an infomercial that came out that was called Mr. Microphone. I don't know if y'all remember that. Y'all remember that? And he used to have that little bottom of the end. Yep. It would program to your radio. I think FM, something like that. You had to put it on there, and you could talk through it and it'll play through your radio. Well, that was amazing. My parents got me that, and I disturbed the whole damn house. I was walking around imitating Tom Joyner. I'm like, you're listening to Tom Joyner. Can't want to work then. I used to do all of that. So I just knew at that time, and my mom would tell y'all today that they knew he was going to be something in radio or something that had something to do with a microphone, because he just tore that damn microphone up. So, that's kind of how I leaned into it, man. And I used to love using my voice as an instrument. I can do all the influxes. I can do all the, I have a voice with resonance that is naturally in there. But when I know how to speak, I know how to get rid of the rest. I learned that at PV, believe it or not. So it's just all been it's been a cool journey, man. But just to know that I made a living off of it, man, I make more money, doing my entertainment than I do, teaching sociology and working in, the higher education realm, believe it or not. Sure. So it is going to be a space, man, that I don't even have to advertise. It's like, because I do more than about 143 events average per year.
Let me follow up. I mean, because for me, in watching bands, you really notice how an announcer can sort of make or break the performance. And there's a fine line. There's a fine line to the hype. There's a fine line to the petty, and then there's also kind of a fine line to over talking. So where do you find the fine line?
Well, I think something, rest in peace, Prof. Edwards, man. It was something that he used to always tell me, man. When I first started, he used to have to pull me into a room privately. This is not a lot of people really know this, but he used to say, now I know you cool and I know everybody knows you. He said, but I need you to know something. This is not about you. You know what I'm saying? Lock and low. He's like, this is not about you. You're gonna get popular from it, but I need you to know it's not about you. Don't try to overtake and make it about you. It's about the band. You are an accent to the band. So it's very important to be clear. It's very important to be concise. That's why anytime you would hear the beginning break, I would say, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Pantherland is proud to present the Prairie View A&M. All of that, it needed to be said in that opening. So right when the bum, 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 I needed to be done. He was like, we're not talking into it. You're not talking. So that took a lot to really learn that even what I did was a cadence. You know what I'm saying? So, I think it's very important, man. And anytime you hear somebody over talking the band or saying too much or overpowering where you can't hear the band, or it sounds distorted, or if your clarity is not there, that means you're not opening your mouth. I mean, it's a lot of little pieces to it. And so that's a very good question that you asked, but some people don't see it as an art form because they really don't realize how they need to be a part of the band and not outside of the band.
Sure.
Absolutely. Great question, Charles. Go ahead, Mike. Follow up.
Yeah, so along those lines, Dr. Foster also said that every region has its own uniqueness. And I've known you for a while. You've been able to find different events. And you've been at NAACP Image Awards. You've been at Performing Arts, Houston Performing Arts Recognition Awards. You've been at church, every event, especially an HBCU's event. Mm-hmm. So, in saying that, the gumbo that you have in Georgia and South Carolina is different than the gumbo in Louisiana. Mm-hmm. Everything is unique to that region. What was good there may not be good here. When you go to these events, how do you find the uniqueness of that event to make the brand? What do you do to prepare to bring out the uniqueness of that individual event for that region or for that area?
Why you didn't say gumbo in Texas or Mississippi?
Come on, man. Come on. We got to go there.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Karl.
Hey, no, that's a great question, Mike. Man, I think there was a gentleman that I met. Man, I hate when I forget names, man. But I met a gentleman when I was in Scottsdale, Arizona, man, and he was really good, man. Older black gentleman. Damn, I forgot his name. But anyway, he was one thing he always told me, man, that just kind of stuck with me, is he said, listen, he said, you can always remember, man, he say humans, I don't care if their accents change, I don't care if if their cultural differences are here and there. He say, man, if they are breathing and you can communicate to them, you can get them. So my motto now is if they breathing, I can get them. I don't care what background you're from. I feel like this is where education kind of comes in. And I know, all of you all are avid, education, goers and understand how it enhances who we are. But just really, really understanding people, understanding, societal norms, being able to respect differences, et cetera, et cetera. Like I am well versed in that. So I can step into any arena and I can communicate to people without offending them, with being able to make them enjoy, because everything is entertainment. What you all are doing now, you're providing information, but you're also entertaining at the same time. So entertainment is the element to it. I don't care if you're doing, if it's a wedding, I don't care if it's a gala. Somewhere along the way, you have to keep it entertaining while still trying to attack the impact. And my thing is to be able to guide people. One of the things I'm really great at as being an entertainment host is being able to take the elephant out the room. Because anytime you get people in a room together, whether it's something that makes them feel uncomfortable by the way that they dress, they're not dressed like they would normally dress, that's a social barrier. And if you can get the social barrier and knock it to the floor and get people to be able to, be how you need them to be by saying what it is that needs to be said without offending and still making people feel good, at the end of the day, get them to do anything for the rest of the evening. And that's what one of the challenges was in my earlier days. Now, it's like as I do it with my eyes closed. You know what I'm saying? And you would think that if you're in a room full of people that are probably 65, maybe 70 years old, 75 years old up, this could be offensive, but they actually like it. When I say something like, everybody in here, those that have their original teeth in your mouth, show them right now. You know what I'm saying? That's a big heavy line I use, and I use it because it's not offensive, but at the same time it's kind of laughing. I say, and even if you bought it, you go ahead and show them teeth too. Those kind of things, because at the end of the day, laughing and smiling is euphoric. People want to be in a euphoric feeling, and they want to make sure that they have a great time no matter where they go. Because when they step outside their homes, they want to be entertained. They may not want to participate in the entertainment by, indulging and dancing and things, but if they feel there, 9 times out of 10, they have a great time.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you.
Karl, I'm a huge fan of Joe Bullock, who's the voice of the Marching 100. Darren Bedell, who's the voice of the Southern Human Jukebox. Are there announcers out there that you hear nowadays and you say, you know what, they get it?
Yeah. I run into a lot of them, man, but 9 times out of 10, if they're a novice, man, they're always somebody who's been doing it for a minute. I can tell when the ones that are new, that are kind of newbies, because they're all over the place and they're reaching and sometimes shouting and screaming to a point of where people can't understand what they're saying. And now they sound more distorted and more of a nuisance than they sound as an accent. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so guys that have been doing it for a while, man, some of those guys I know, you can just tell when they found that stage, and they know exactly how to get the outcome that is put that in achieve. So yeah, and one of the things that's kind of weird is that when people hear how long I did it for, Prof. Edwards used to call me when he was frustrated. He's like, man, look, I'm gonna be in town, blah blah blah, or can you be in town? He said, I'll just send you the video of the show. You just write me something to it, and then when you do a rehearsal, when you come in either that night before or that morning, and I'll just kind of go in the band room, they go through it, he'll hear what I've written, he said, let's do it, we'll roll. But it got to the point where the trust factor was there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Good point.
Rather than keep trying something, and right now TT that does it, her a little bit. You know what I'm saying? One of the things that, sometimes I run into when I haven't heard her in a while and I go, sometimes I think she runs to that lane of making it about her sometimes. See, it's one thing to, kind of have a swag and make a fun statement towards the other band, but it's another one and make a swag statement and you make a pun statement, but you let it know it's my bravado that's doing this, not the band. You know what I'm saying? So you got to be careful. It's a gray area sometimes when you walk in that lane. And you can say something real sick, but it's like it's coming from the band, not from you. You know what I'm saying? But if you say something real sick and it's like it's coming from you and not the band, that's when it gets a little spacious and people start moving in that fine line like, whoa, let me reel you back in. You know what I'm saying? It's about the band, you know what I'm saying, and not about you. So, but that's a gray area, and every now and then you got to kind of tap that coattail, say, look, remember, you're an accent, but, and that's the era we're in, man. You got to stay connected. You got to stay at a point where you don't get disconnected from, the jargon that the young people are using, because at the end of the day, the band is also about having this swag to it, but at the same time, you want to make sure it stays neat and that the music is well written and well delivered and that the performances and people are entertained by it. That comes all those creative values by still maintaining, the music. But at the end of the day, I've heard some that are really good and I've heard some that are really like, they need to pull back on the mic a little bit or, that they're not staying in unison. This person is on 59, and you on 610. I don't know. It's kind of weird, and not on the same page.
Is it better? Is it better to be in the press box on?
It just depends, man. I mean, I can work from both, but on the field, you feel it more. You know what I'm saying? You feel it, but if the setup is not appeasing to that field. And you can get a better sound from the booth. And you just gotta kind of take it from the booth because sometimes you're in stadiums where the press box mic sounds way better than the field mic.
Sure thing.
Yeah.
Great questions, Charles, Mike, Karl. I know you got a busy schedule, so we'll let you out of it after this one. And this one's for you. In regards to what are some of the projects you're doing, and let them know for those that may be getting married. How can they get the information about the wedding MC? And then what is your latest project that you're getting prepared and getting your haircut for this evening, actually?
Yeah. So thank you for asking that, brother. So, so the brand is The Wedding MC. The website is theweddingmc.net. And I just did my 537th wedding, launching the Wedding MC University. Excited about that, to be able to get, I have a lot of people that are very, very interested in it. We're almost finished with it too. The weddings, I do more than 43 per year. So, easily go to the site. You can get in touch with me directly there at theweddingmc.net and then continuously support it. What we have going on now is that I've been charged with, there's a new network that's getting ready to launch called Indie. It's Indie Network TV. I think the IG is at Indie Network TV. Something like that. Indie spelled INDE, and they are getting ready to launch a bunch of shows on their network. As a matter of fact, I want to make sure I get them in touch with you too, y'all, so y'all can talk something through because I think the HBCU Sports Lab will be great on their network as well. But at the same time, they have a new video show called HTX. Top 10 videos, all independent videos people are submitting, rap, hip hop, or R&B. And I'm the host of that new show. So we're shooting episode 2 tonight. So, and I think they're getting about 6 episodes in the can before they actually launch it. So episode 2 is going on tonight. It's kind of like Rap City's The Basement, man. So it's going to be kind of dope, I'm the host, and y'all know I'm going to do what I do. Right?
you come a long way from, what was that group? Was it back in the day in PV?
Soul Brothers, Magic the Soul Brothers.
Yeah.
Well, we'll let you get out of here. I know you got to get prayer for it. I appreciate you dipping in your time. We see the schedule and you traveling around the world getting it done. Shout out to the barber again in terms of making and getting it done for us. That is Brother Karl King Mayes, a former announcer for the Marching Storm at Prairie A&M University. Thank you, Charles, for thinking about this. It was very good. Great questions you had. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this break. We'll come back and get these two gentlemen a chance as we unveiled 15 through 8. Come back and get their thoughts in this last segment in terms of what we unveiled on Tuesday. Stick with us after this last break. Shout out, Karl. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
Oh, we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisine.
Open up the door. Tell them I'm hungry.
T. Madden and Associates is a sophisticated and experienced law firm located in your neighborhood. We're turning injury to cash.
T. Madden and Associates obtained almost $2 million for my injury. They turned my injury to cash.
Now, we can't guarantee how much your injury is worth, but we've recovered millions for our clients.
Call T. Madden and Associates at 833-PAID-123. That's 833-PAID-123.
This is Ryan Fulford. AD Drew and I are
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna loud, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Hope you enjoyed our interview with Karl Mayes in regards to the announcer of the Marching Storm at Prairie A&M University, giving you some insight about, as we like to say, the sporting HBCU dash for all things and what that means. With that being said, these gentlemen are out on assignment taking care of business, so we had our tag team come in as they did a great job in terms of Brian and AD of Sports Rap as we unveiled the next 7 in our top 21, 15 through 8. We will unveil the final 7, the top 7, next Tuesday. So make sure you do not miss that as we will get that out before we head to the SIAC that Wednesday, and then we get into the SWAC the following week and end the month with the MEAC and the CIAA. With that being said, let's get into the top 8 for the mid-majors you see here. At number 15, we have Winston-Salem State Rams. At number 14, we had Edward Waters Tigers. At number 13, we had the Lane Dragons. At number 12, we had Savannah State. At number 10, we had Albany State Golden Rams. At number 9, we had West Virginia State Yellow Jackets. And at number 8, Virginia State Trojans. It's hard for me to keep a straight face because I just saw Charles drop his. So let me go to Charles before he can make any more faces to get an understanding why his face turned up like that before I can even finish my top next 7 in terms of 15 to 8. What is the problem, Charles?
I mean, I know Albany State has a change at head coach. Quinn Gray is taking over now, but Albany State under West Virginia State, that caught me off guard real quick because I kind of had them. They were 7-3 last year. I had them more in my top 10. So, to see them at 10, I need them a little further up there.
Anything else to grab the nerve in regards to that? I'll take one. If I just got one slid somewhere, maybe I'm not doing too bad, but it threw you off, I can tell. Anything
it
else?
threw me off because I stopped there and I didn't hear the rest. I was like, wait, Albany State.
Yeah, well.
So that pressed the nerve real quick. So
oh my goodness. So Mike, what are your thoughts on this next 7, 15 through 8?
Yeah, I had the same thing. Albany State, 10. They were breaking my top 10. So I was kind of wondering about that. I was wondering right there with Charles, who put this list together and what kind of gumbo they've been eating. So
he gonna go in and talk about all the gumbo there.
Yeah.
I don't know why Mike has the gumbo on the mind today.
I was about to say, all of a sudden, I got very hungry. I now want to go.
Don't do from Georgia to Louisiana. He don't count in no Texas. Don't give no love to Mississippi, as if Mississippians can't do no gumbo. They do great catfish. You do catfish, you do some gumbo.
Hey, they claim catfish, so I'm gonna let them claim catfish.
Yeah, the rule look different once you start coming from Acadiana to over here. So
I do have. Well, let me let you finish. Go ahead.
No, you fine. Say your piece. I don't want no problem.
Okay, so I see where you have Virginia State, right?
Correct.
They were, 5-3, 3-2. No, 2-3 in the last year in the conference, right?
Correct. They were 5-3, 6-4 overall. I got them at
2-3 in the division. And you ranked them where?
Number 8.
And
that's
you ranked
outside of the top 7. That's Dr. Henry Frazier III.
And you ranked them above Albany State, a team that was pushing top contender last year in 2022. Had a top
they got
running
a
back.
first year coach, a new coach. I did the same thing in the major division. I need some coaches to show me a little something. You got a new coach. Y'all come in and think these coaches. Historically, a new coach does not come in. I know y'all got excited because Coach Prime came to Jackson State in his first 2 years, 3, depending on what you want to call it, spring. He just went berserk, and ran through the SWAC and literally went to 2 celebration bowls. But that's not.
He did mess up the curve.
Okay,
you got to go way back to Southern University in terms of Pete Richardson to see a first-year coach being able to get it done at that level. It doesn't happen, whether it's a CIAA, SIAC, SWAC, and MEAC, certainly, it doesn't happen. But it seems like y'all want to give Golden Ram, Albany State, Quint Gray. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to see what you're saying.
That's right. Watch it, please. Watch it. Oh, God. So in the last 3 years, they've been that same record. So what warrants them, again, to be ahead of Albany State? They've been 2-3, 5-3, whatever, in the middle of the pack the last 3 years. So I will see. I'm going to watch and see, too.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to you, Charles. He acts like Benedict is still not in the SIAC. I know they lost their quarterback. But you told me everything. You the one told me about Jennifer. Is something gonna change with that?
Yeah. Benedict is still they still that team out there in the SIC.
Absolutely.
So, okay, now y'all seem like y'all doing a little more homework. Don't get it twisted, because you're going to the SIC. I'll let them know how y'all treat these folks.
And don't forget Tuskegee sitting out there too. So.
Yep, Tuskegee's out there.
They were talking about HBCU night. I got to sneak this in. I thought they were a little far-fetched to this, but they say Tuskegee might get one of the Alabama schools in terms of the SWAC, if not both. What are your thoughts on that?
I can see that because they've done it before. I'm a testament to when they beat Jackson State back in the day. So, it can happen. We've seen them do it to Alabama State, too.
Which Alabama team will they get? That's
I kind of
want to know.
They started with one couple said Alabama State, and the other group said Alabama A&M, and then some said both.
Now see, here's my thing. I think Alabama State is that next team that's positioned to really make some noise in the SWAC East. I know everybody talks FAMU and Jackson State, but that's a team that I'm really keeping my eye on with Alabama State.
And they say it all goes based on the quarterback. And they say they actually have a quiet quarterback that's sitting in the back. And obviously there's some coaching moves that had to be made. Pretty much we know who's going to be the starter in terms of that. But at the end of the day, to another point that you made as we transition and get the top next 7, 15 through 8 for the major division, is they talked about Alabama State's defense. A lot of folks are really impressed.
Coleman Adams.
They were probably the second best defense. And I think in terms of statistics, they certainly showed that in terms of what Jackson State is. Now, they lost a couple of pieces. But people also said they got a lot of pieces back. So it's going to be fascinating to see what that looks like in terms of them moving forward. Let's transition.
I don't know about – hold on. I don't know about Tuskegee getting the Alabama team. The last couple of years, they've lost quite convincingly. So maybe on a good day. I just don't know about that one.
I was thinking more of that, but I had to bring it to the table. I wanted the experts to chime in, doing a great job there. AD chimed in, Tuskegee. He said Reginald Ruffin at Tuskegee, he said it's only 1 year, so he thinks it's going to take a little more time. Yeah. So, that's somebody that covers the SIAC and actually will be doing some writing for the Division II SIAC program. So I'm gonna stick with AD Drew, which is my first mind anyway. With that being said, let's talk about the major division, 14 through 8. And we start out with 14 as Tennessee State. Number 13 is Grambling State Tigers. Number 12 is Alabama State Hornets. Number 11 is Prairie View A&M Panthers. Number 10 is South Carolina State Bulldogs. Number 9 is Texas Southern Tigers. Number 8 is Morgan State Bears. Before I throw it to you, Mike, I will say this, that Brian brought out his rendition of Mike Washington in terms of his data analytics, and was dropping the mic hot. He said, man, y'all getting excited about these team names such as Tennessee State and Grambling and these coaches. He said they were ranked too high. He threw salt at Morgan State and South Carolina State as well in terms of them being a little high. So I didn't know that he was required to do his Mike Washington rendition, but he came in there on fire. So I did want to say that he represented well. So you don't have to be as tough on me as you normally are. But Mike, it's up to you. What do you think about 14 through 8?
Yeah, I would agree. I think Morgan State on that initially caught my little high. just a taint shy. Come on. I'm looking at where their defense is, where their offense is last, 3 years, give or take, where they finished in the conference. What were they, 2 and 3? I don't want to speak out the side of my neck here.
Which one? Grambling was 3 and 8, 2 and 6.
Yep.
Tennessee State was 4 and 7 and 2 and 3.
Yeah, but I'm talking about Morgan State was 2 and 3, 4 and 7.
They were 4 and 7 and 2 and 3. That's correct.
Yes. So now you have them above. Yeah. I don't understand this ranking. You have them above. You have them above a tough South Carolina State team, a Texas Southern, and a Prairie View team, which always in the last few years has come out of the West. So I don't know. That's a taint too high.
Taint. He over there. He's still doing the gumbo, Charles.
Yeah. I see.
Charles, help me out here. You killed me on the last one. You let Mike go in. And, AD, shout out to AD. AD did what he did. He broke it down. But now it's your turn. 3 are in. You're the 4th one. What do you think about 14 through 8?
I think Grambling traditionally doesn't stay down very long, but they have to prove it to me for them to be ranked to where they I didn't see a lot with regards to them offensively last year. A great game against FAMU, but the breadth of the season, I think Grambling, for the most part, they have to prove it to me a little bit. For me, Alabama State and Prairie View are deserving of being in the top 10. I think they're ranked a little bit low. I think when you take a look, and I always take a look at returning quarterbacks. When you have returning quarterbacks, to me, that gives you a leg up in terms of going into the season. And both of those teams have returning quarterbacks. So I'm really excited about what those teams can do in terms of making some noise within the SWAC East and the SWAC West this year. So for me, definitely Alabama State, Prairie View will be bumped up a little bit higher. I want to move Texas Southern up a little bit as well, but the jury's still out. It's almost like Grambling for me with Texas Southern. I just need to see it to be sure.
Texas Southern has been that X factor. I can go with that. Grambling State has been. They are who we thought they are the last couple of years, and I agree with you. They show me it, but for you to put, Prairie View has beaten Texas Southern the last. So Texas Southern, you got them above Prairie View. I think they both should be in the top 10, but I don't think Texas Southern should be above Prairie View A&M.
Good stuff. So staying with you, Mike, before I go back to you, Charles, with one last question. Any of these teams you would have in the top 7, Mike?
In the top 7. I don't want to say it because I got the home cooking, but if there's any of these teams that I would put in the top 7, I'm going to go either Alabama State and or Prairie View A&M. You could argue with them being in the top 7.
Charles, you said Texas Southern, you would push a little higher. Is that one that you would put in the top 7?
Not in the top 7. I think Prairie View is deserving of being in the top 7. And you take a look at the how everything played out last year. If I guess Prairie View had just knocked off Mississippi Valley, they would have been back in the SWAC championship game. But that was not to be. But to me, the addition of Caleb Johnson to this Prairie View football team, that is a tremendous X factor, I think, going into the season, because I think there'll be a lot more balance.
Yeah, that's a great point. That was a really great, quiet ad for the Prairie View A&M program. So it'll be interesting to follow to see what that looks like. It was done so early that I think a couple of people kind of forget about it with all the other late moves that a lot of folks are going with. So it'll be fascinating. So, again, on Tuesday, we unveil 7 through 1. On Tuesday, we'll unveil 7 through 1 in the mid-major and major division. So, obviously, since I asked you which one team, 2 teams for Mike, that one of those that he would bump up, we'll see which of the top 7, which one or 2 that you'll bump down. So, stick with us as we unveil that final 7. You probably could do the math if you look at who was 8 through 21 to find out who's in the top 7, but you have to stay here and tune in on Tuesday as we do the show to find out the order. So it'll be interesting to see what the order and what these 2 gentlemen think about my order of the top 7, and then which team or 2 they're pushing down out of the top 7 as well. With that being said, we'll close it up. Thank you for listening. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Hope you enjoyed our guest, Brother Karl Mayes, former announcer of the Prairie View A&M Marching Storm, as we ask the important questions in regards to the symbiotic relationship, one that Charles needs to be there to really take your band to the next level, particularly when we talk about the marching sport. So, as we unveil the top rankings for the marching sport this fall, one of the things we will be incorporating is the announcer, and we'll make sure Charles and Mike gets a say in what they think in terms of those whole rankings. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock, right here at Central Standard Time. We look forward to next week as we discuss the latest news in the lab. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil. That's DrKenyattaCavil. Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That's DrKenyattaCavil. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube is Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Dream big. Continue to move forward. Make sure you download my JBN, my BCSN. Check out Carlos Brown on Saturday, as well as closing out your weekend or starting your weekend on Sunday with Brian and AD of the Sports Rap. And then come back and check them out on ONG Strike Zone as they give you all the inside information on the ONG Strike Zone with FAMU. Don't worry. Pre-game show is not going anywhere with Charles Bishop. They'll be able to give you some updates. Just waiting to give you the appropriate timing when it's time to give you a little more information there. Charles said he might be retiring there. It might be time to move on. I thought last time we talked he was ready to do it, but I looked up. I guess I need to double check before. So maybe not. Pre-game show, maybe history. We'll let them tell you about it. We will talk with you soon. Charles?
Of course. Pre-game show is going strong in Boulder, though.
Right. I was talking about the Jackson State side. Oh, they're doing their thing.
Yeah.
In fact, I just saw what he did today and it was some good stuff. Shout out to the boss man up there doing the pregame show in Colorado. With that being said, I was just saying that you're going to add your Jackson State piece for all those Jackson State fans out there, HBCU sports fans that are missing you.
Yeah.
With that being said, let me start it over to make sure we can get it out there before I get you in this trouble.
Yeah, you got to rewind that thing, man. There's too many paragraphs in between.
Charles?
Of course.
Mike?
Lecture.
Dismissed.
Man.